The other morning, I was standing in my kitchen. Sunlight was hitting the counter, coffee was brewing, the usual stuff. And I was on my phone, just, scrolling. I don't even remember what. Headlines, emails, it didn't really matter.
No.
I happened to look up and caught my reflection in the window glass.
Okay.
And it hit me. This person staring back. They looked alive, sure, but they weren't awake. It was this strange, hollow feeling.
Right.
Like I was a passenger in my own day, just waiting for the next promotion, the weekend. It felt like I was wasting the one thing I couldn't get back, stuck in this loop of waiting for some day.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling.
And then this quote I'd read just slammed into my head. It's from a Roman emperor, of all people. It's not poetic. It's surgical. He said, "Imagine that you have died. Now take what's left of your life and live it properly."
Wow.
That idea that you're already in the bonus round, that this is your second life, it just changes everything. It's not morbid. It's a reset. And it's the most powerful wake-up call I've ever found.
It is an incredibly potent way to frame reality. I mean, we often live assuming tomorrow will look like today, and that assumption is exactly what leads to that passenger feeling you described.
Exactly.
The beauty of this ancient Stoic perspective is that it sort of bypasses intellectual understanding, and it forces immediate, deliberate action. It takes that abstract idea of mortality and demands you apply it right now in your professional and personal life.
The moment you realize you're not waiting for life to start, you start living it.
With profound intention.
And that intention, then, is the mission of this deep dive. We've got sources here that span ancient philosophy, modern business, personal development, all focused on using this second life idea, this immediate reset, to stop procrastinating, conquer fear, and really define your purpose.
Exactly. And the foundation, like you said, is the Stoic practice known as Memento Mori.
We hear that phrase, Memento Mori, and in a modern context, we translate it as remember you too must die. That sounds intensely heavy, maybe even counterproductive. How did the Stoics use this to find vitality, not depression?
Well, it was the ultimate resource conservation strategy. For them, it was the opposite of morbid. It was a daily, practical reminder that time is not a renewable resource. It is the most precious, limited thing you own.
So if you accept that, you have to be ruthless about protecting it.
You're forced to. You have to ensure you aren't wasting it on trivial things, vanity projects, or, activities that just don't align with your core values.
The application for anyone struggling with prioritization in their work life is immediate. You have to protect your calendar, your mental bandwidth.
You must be ruthless, yes, but also intentional. It's not just about being busy. I mean, so many professionals today spend all their time organizing work, planning meetings about planning meetings, but never actually delivering value.
Right.
Memento Mori forces you to audit your time. Is this activity moving my most important goal forward, or is it just generating more admin? It compels you to act with a profound sense of urgency.
And that urgency becomes even more intense when you look at Seneca's perspective on the time that's already gone. That quote it's pretty stark.
It is a shocking perspective shift. Seneca challenges us directly. He says, "For we are mistaken when we look forward to death. The major portion of death has already passed. Whatever years be behind us are in death's hands."
Wow. So that just fundamentally redefines life. It's not about the period between birth and death.
No.
It's the period between now and death. The past is already owned by death. You have zero control.
Which is why the only meaningful thing is the present moment. If you're constantly looking to the future for validation, that someday, or to the past with regret, you are squandering the only currency you actually control.
And the consequence of not doing that.
Seneca said that for those people, their life is very short and anxious. The anxiety isn't from external events, it's from the chronic failure to act on what matters.
That insight transitions perfectly, because that anxiety is amplified tenfold in risky environments, like startups or innovation. If the second life is about immediate action, how does this help people conquer the fear of failure at work?
Well, failure is a constant shadow in any innovative space. When you're building something new, the default outcome is failure.
Sure.
So to thrive, you need the philosophical courage to conquer that fear. And we see high-level leaders using this mortality reflection as a primary tool for motivation and risk assessment.
I think I know the most famous example of that.
Steve Jobs. He spoke very openly about using the reflection on his own mortality as the most important tool he ever had for making big life choices.
Right. He said most people are paralyzed by external expectations, pride, fear of embarrassment.
All of it. But he found that all those smaller anxieties just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. When you realize you're in your second life, you have nothing to lose. You gain the clarity to take truly ambitious risks.
That puts everyday workplace worries, like a bad presentation or a critical email, into a completely different perspective.
They're trivial hurdles. It's the ultimate filter.
So how do you translate that personal urgency to the long-term decisions of a massive company? Jeff Bezos did that, didn't he?
He did. He used a corporate version of this idea. Bezos famously predicted that Amazon will eventually go bankrupt and fail.
Which sounds crazy.
It does, but his reasoning was that if you accept this ultimate corporate risk, this institutional memento mori, the focus has to remain squarely on the customer to delay that day for as long as possible. It uses existential risk as a constant motivating pressure to innovate and avoid getting complacent.
So it's less about optimism and more about
Accepting inevitability. Exactly.
accepting inevitability.
Yeah.
And that ties directly into another Stoic method, anticipating the worst. I've heard it called a premeditation of evils. Can you explain what Premeditatio Malorum is and why focusing on worst-case scenarios isn't just paralyzing?
It's not fatalism, it's preparation. Premeditatio Malorum is about deliberately imagining what could go wrong, so you're mentally prepared for setbacks.
You make the feared outcome familiar.
Exactly. Seneca, for instance, despite his wealth, he practiced poverty, wore old clothes, ate simple meals, not because he had to, but to gain confidence that he could withstand what he feared.
But where's the line between that and just sophisticated worrying?
The line is crossed when you stop planning and start dwelling. The Stoic practice insists on 3 steps. Identify the disaster, plan to prevent it, and plan to recover from it.
And we see this today. I know Tim Ferriss does this.
He documents his what-ifs in a spreadsheet with prevention and recovery plans right next to them. He actually used it to overcome his anxiety about delegating so he could finally take a vacation. It transferred the anxiety from an emotion to a spreadsheet.
And corporations have a formal version of this now.
Absolutely. The pre-mortem meeting. Before a project launches, the team imagines it has already failed catastrophically. Then they work backward to figure out why.
And that coaxes out all the hidden worries people were afraid to mention before.
It does. Things like not enough time for testing or a key feature being too complex. You address the controllable risks at the very beginning, not when it's already a disaster.
So the insight is that failure is inevitable, but by confronting it ahead of time, we get rid of the surprise, which is the part that paralyzes us.
Seneca captured it perfectly. We are more often frightened than hurt. And we suffer more in imagination than in reality. You reframe failure from trauma to just a learning opportunity, which is vital for resilience.
Okay, so if the second life gives us urgency and courage, we need to shift to the third layer, how it helps us live with purpose and professional integrity. If you're on borrowed time, you have to maximize your impact.
This brings us to summum bonum, or the highest good. The Stoics believed the highest good was virtuous living and everything else. Happiness, success would follow. Professionally, this is about leadership and integrity.
Doing the right thing, even when no one is watching.
Because that commitment is what builds long-term trust with stakeholders.
So integrity isn't just a policy. It's a core part of your personal career strategy. You can almost treat your own career like a business analysis project.
You can, absolutely. Think of managing your own value as a continuous improvement cycle. A key part is goal alignment. You have to be able to articulate how your work contributes to the organization's highest goals.
Right. The classic story from the NASA space race.
The one where President Kennedy asks a janitor what he's doing, and the janitor says, "I'm helping put a man on the moon, Mr. President."
That story, even if it's not true, illustrates the power of linking your daily tasks to the highest strategic objective.
It does. And in a modern context, when you communicate your work, you always have to keep the so what question in mind. Why does this matter to the person listening? You need to articulate value in terms they prioritize.
And that leads us to the core virtues that define a purposeful professional, especially in a field like business analysis. If we're looking at virtues that align with summum bonum, which ones really stand out?
They're all linked, but a few are critical for reducing friction and adding value. Prudence is vital. That's defining the most valuable solution, making sure you're solving the right problem. Simplicity, too, being able to explain complex ideas clearly.
But you'd argue the most powerful is compassion.
I would. And that sounds softer than prudence, but it's incredibly powerful professionally.
Why is that?
Because the root of compassion means feeling together. It's more active than empathy. It's actively feeling the end user's pain with a bad system, or the stakeholder's stress from scope creep, and then working proactively to diminish that suffering.
So if you have compassion, you naturally act in good faith.
And you seek prudent solutions, you strive for simplicity. It becomes the engine of ethical and valuable work.
That focus on collaboration leads us to the final layer of this framework, moving beyond your professional bubble and connecting with the community. The Stoics called this sympathia.
Sympathia, the realization of mutual interdependence, the idea that we're all part of one living system. Marcus Aurelius put it so well, what's bad for the hive is bad for the bee.
It demands systems thinking then.
Right, understanding the downstream impacts of every change and aligning toward a common goal, because no one can truly thrive if their community is struggling.
So the second life mentality is also a call to apply your skills outside the immediate job description. Corporate social responsibility not as a checkbox, but as a real extension of your purpose.
Absolutely. You use your professional toolkit to generate external value. We have examples of people doing this brilliantly. There's John, a solution architect. He saw an opportunity on his doorstep guided art tours around his office and turned it into a fundraiser to prevent homelessness.
Wow.
He raised over £25,000 just by using an existing resource and his communication skills.
And it doesn't have to be a huge project. It can be a BA just applying their core toolkit.
Precisely. We've seen business analysts use standard tools, Popopit, SWOT analysis, to help a local charity like Getaway Girls develop a digital strategy.
And in doing that, they're not just giving back, they're sharpening their own skills.
Exactly. They're gaining experience in leadership and strategic thinking in a low-risk environment while making a real difference. It's an acceleration of personal growth driven by community value. That is the ultimate expression of the second life. Realizing your skills are the most valuable asset you can share and using them while you have time.
What this deep dive has really crystallized for me is that the philosophical weight of the Stoics, that awareness of mortality, it's not a burden, it's a tool. It's the ultimate lever to jolt yourself out of autopilot, out of the passenger seat, and into being a deliberate, ethical actor in your career and your life. The realization of your second life isn't something you wait for. It's an internal decision you make right now.
It is the ultimate self-reset, a complete philosophical and professional reboot. This is why the existentialist Viktor Frankl captured this core Stoic urgency so perfectly. He started effectively giving you permission to start over immediately. Live as if you were living already for the second time, and as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you were about to act now.